What's up, guys? I'm Ed from Guitar Space, and I'm here with Dan Barry from GuitarApp. Dan, thanks for joining me today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Ed.
I'm looking forward to this conversation because you've seemed to have solved a problem that I very much had when I was teaching a lot. I wish that this was around when I was teaching. Was GuitarApp, GuitarApp.com? Is that correct?
That's right, yeah, GuitarApp.com.
And I've always listen. YouTube is just a great platform for many things, but we're talking guitar stuff. But you can get pulled into a black hole. You put in open G chord, and then all of a sudden you're going down a rabbit trail. And I often said that it was like a library where all the books were just dumped in the middle of the room, and you have to whittle your way through it, you know. And
Yeah.
I think it would be better suited if you describe GuitarApp. Although it's much more than just that, just the YouTube thing. There, we'll get into that.
Yeah. So basically, I've been in the music education space for a long time. I kind of started out my whole journey as a musician, and I learned guitar long before there was even realistically, even before there was computers. I think my first operating system was like Windows 3.1 or something like that. But by the time I was kind of college going age, I really got into software development and things like that. And I really just wanted to combine the two things I loved, which was playing guitar and then trying to make it easier for people to learn guitar. So I've done a bunch of stuff. I had a company in the past called Riff Station, and then I was with Fender for a while. And as you say, now more recently, I'm with GuitarApp. So there's 4 guys in the company. My other 3 co-founders, Mikkel, Lorcan, and Brian, and we're all from the industry. So we've all been in the kind of music education, music app space. We're all guitar players. We're all musicians. And when we came to working together this time, because we've worked together in the past as well, we kind of took the view that almost everything has been done, but everything is done in a kind of a walled garden way. And we were looking for inspiration to things like Khan Academy. So Khan Academy gives free K-12 education for anybody who wants to get their education there, or just upskill, or kind of, take free courses to help them out in their mainstream schooling. And we love that kind of model of the democratization of education. Mm-hmm. And Khan Academy doesn't have music, for example. Obviously, it's a niche area. It's very specialized. But like you said, we looked at YouTube and thought, it really is all here. Like the effort that the creators on YouTube have gone to put together what can only be described as the best content there is it's really admirable. And we thought, there's no point in us trying to develop the new best course, or the new best pedagogy, or the new best way, because realistically everybody learns differently. Everybody likes different personalities teaching them. Something like learning guitar, it's not just about learning the nuts and bolts and the chords and the rhythm. It's a lifestyle. Like there's a lot that goes into dedicating yourself to learning guitar. You're into the gear, you're into the music, you're into the everything that goes around it. And so we thought, YouTube has all this already, and it's really high quality these days. But as you said, it can be quite difficult to kind of trawl through it all without maybe getting sucked into a rabbit hole, or getting distracted by one of the other channels that you follow. Got a new video and you get a notification, and you started off doing one thing and you had great intentions and you were going to learn, a new mode today, but now you're not going to do it because you're watching something else. So we just thought, well, how can we build upon what YouTube already does, and just bring a bit of structure to it, bring a bit of curation to it, and really kind of surface the best stuff and try and signpost it for people. Let people who want to learn guitar, who maybe can't afford to pay for the online lessons, people who are, you know, dedicated, self-directed learners, and not just beginners. I mean, all the way up to professionals.
Yeah.
Just kind of lay it out there as a kind of a, you know, a taxonomy of music. So, you know, if you decide you want to learn some scales, you can go into the scale section, and it breaks down into a whole bunch of different scales, and it curates all the videos on just that scale or just that mode. Same with techniques. It'll give you feeds on just one specific technique, or things like that. And you kind of get to see how the music theory behind guitar, because not everybody knows the music theory, and you don't, in my view, you don't need to specifically know the music theory. Everyone internalizes it in their own way, but they don't necessarily always know the names of the things they do. So we're just kind of trying to put this together in a way that you can explore and fill in the gaps in your knowledge if you already know some stuff, or to jump right in from the beginning. And we've curated as we see the, you know, some of the best courses out there. So that was kind of the motivation behind it. And luckily, the YouTube API is designed to let you kind of build on top of that, provided you're being transparent about what's going on. And so that's what we did. As well as that, we also took the view that, okay, all the content is there, but there's a whole bunch of tools that everybody needs to go back to every day or every couple of days. You got to tune your guitar. So it's a no-brainer. We're going to give you a tuner. And we've done a tuner for the iOS app, and we've also done a tuner for web. If you're going to be practicing, you're going to need a metronome to practice, to make sure that, you know, you really work on your timing. So we built a metronome on iOS native and on web.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be thinking about how to play certain chords that you may have heard the name of, but you're not quite sure the fingering, or you're kind of thinking to yourself, okay, so I actually know the fingering of that chord, but Rick Beato is describing it in terms of the intervals between the notes. How can I explore chords according to just the intervals between the notes?
I love that, by the way.
Thanks a lot.
The Chord app, because you also offer other fingerings as well. So for example, when I was teaching, this is because as soon as I saw this, I said, man, I wish that this, you know, I went through a period where I was I had like maybe 60 students a week, and I would use Evernote. I would keep track of the students, but also I would embed links to YouTube videos that I found that I thought were useful on something like vibrato, let's say. You know, let them have this so that they can go to it during the week. So that, because the usual thing that happens is, I remember this as the guitar student. Well, everything was perfectly clear in the lesson. As soon as I walk out that door and I'm halfway down the street, I forgot what the little nuances. What am I supposed to practice? What am I this and that? And then I come in the next week unprepared. And also with the nature of being I was part of School of Rock for a few years, and there's just a flood of students that you're trying to negotiate with, and sometimes you get picked to go to another school, or you want some time off, and I'd have my Evernote notes to give to whoever was subbing for me. This is what we've been doing, and whatnot. And also I would email it to the kids, you know, to the students, that they would have the notes of the lesson. And if I found a YouTube link on what we were talking about, I would embed the link. So I found Evernote to be a useful tool. But also I would get lost sometimes in trying to find a link during the lesson to try to lighten the load, so that I wouldn't be working till midnight. And, you know, okay, this is good. And then I'd actually look at the lesson and go, no, it wasn't good. You know, it was sorting through all that, and also sorting through because the thing is, I mean, we're talking about the education aspect of it. There's the entertainment aspect of it. Like there's a channel for the Rick Beato videos. If you're a Rick Rundown guy from Premier Guitar, there's a channel for that. So there's also that aspect in the guitar app.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the lifestyle part of it. So for example, somebody like me who's been playing guitar for I don't know how many years now, 30 years, um, the sort of things that just personally, it's probably a niche area of guitar lifestyle, but I love watching guitar DIY videos, and not just mods, but people applying finishes or, doing unusual things. There's a really cool channel, a guy called Burl's Art, and he makes guitars out of color pencils and epoxy resins and all this kind of stuff. And it's incredible craft, and it's beautiful to watch, and it's inspirational. So I would kind of, watch a lot of that kind of stuff, but at the same time I do watch a lot of the music theory stuff as well. And obviously big Rick Beato fan, Paul Davids and Adam Neely, and these guys who, they really know their stuff, and they put it across so well. But yeah, it's all there, the gear, the whole lot. It's just a one-stop shop to really just spend more time enjoying something useful and something that's going to propel you and your hobby, as opposed to being drawn into things that you hadn't really planned to watch that day. So it's just a way to keep focused on your guitar passion. And then the interesting thing about the tools I was mentioning there.
Mm-hmm.
So we did the tuner and the metronome and the chord library. So when we had put them out on our own website, we kind of got this idea and thought, well, not everybody's going to want to, come over to our site to learn how to play guitar. But our real goal is for everybody to be able to get the tools they need. So we thought, well, why don't we make these tools available to any teacher or any school or any website or any course? We're not, we don't want to hold on to them as some sort of walled garden. So we made all the tools embeddable with just a little iframe embed link. So now we have about 50 websites using the tools. They're just embedded on those websites. We've got about 10 K-12 school districts using it within their learning management systems across Schoology, Canvas, Classroom Screen, Google Classroom, Moodle. And this isn't something we're kind of reaching out very much about. It's just educators will find a way. So it's this kind of very organic thing where the tools, they now have a life of their own kind of outside of GuitarApp.com as well. And so we're very proud of that. So we really recognize that educators are on the front line of this. So it doesn't matter to us if you're not coming to GuitarApp.com directly. We still want useful tools to be available to you. And things like tuners and metronomes, they're not that easy for a regular web developer to build. So we thought that that will be another gift we give to the community of educators.
How do you keep a site like that going? Because it must take a lot of behind the scenes tech stuff to keep everything working, and everything's free.
Yeah, it does take a bit of effort, all right. The only thing I could say about that is that because we're all very technical and we've been in this business for a long time, we knew that we weren't going to be able to devote all our time to this. So we all have other things going on. My co-founder, Mikkel, he's a fellow in the Global Brain Health Institute at the moment, working on how music can be used to have better brain health in later life. And I do various different things, and the other guys, they do different things as well. So when we built it, we built it to be as low touch as possible in terms of kind of self-managing, self-organizing. And in terms of the tech stack, as I said, we're 20-year software developers, so we try and build it right and build it once, and normally it doesn't fall over. And it's a big cloud infrastructure thing. But in terms of making money, it's we don't make that much money from it, just because our initial goal was it needs to be out there. We have to build it. That we all just agreed that we wanted to do it, and then whatever comes from it, whatever benefit we can reap from it, all well and good, but it's not the main priority. So one place we do make a little bit of money is occasionally a company will come to us and say, hey, we really like your tools, but we don't want the GuitarApp branding on it. We want it white labeled. So we charge for that, and then there's a monthly fee. But for anybody who wants to just embed them with the attribution on it, that's, we're there for it. So that's one place we make some money, but it's really about kind of scratching an itch for us in the first instance. We just kind of felt like we had to build it, and so far it's been very rewarding, and we're all very passionate about it, so we keep doing it.
And congratulations to you, because I really when I stumbled on it, well, to be honest, I stumbled on you first through LinkedIn. I don't remember exactly how you showed up in my feed, but then I saw GuitarApp. The name intrigued me, and that's how I discovered you. And I believe we have a mutual friend in Jim Frankel, and then I got curious, and when I saw the app, I said, "Oh, I wish I had this. I wish I had this when I was doing the one-on-one stuff, because I saw the potential of like you said, the content has already been created. There's a guy who's already explaining it. I don't need to create a video on the cell phone, because now at that time the technology was available to where you could just pull out a cell phone and videotape. And can create a video of your guitar teacher, or so I would do that with some of the students. Some of the older students that had a little bit more sophisticated phones would video me demonstrating whatever it was that we were talking about. So, but there's also I'm only covering a small section of this. We're talking about vibrato. I'm talking about the way that I do vibrato. There's other forms of vibrato that you should know about. Exactly, and check out these guys.
Exactly.
Because I'm going to do a poor demonstration of it, really, to be quite frank. It's just so check this out. Or I discovered this very cool lesson on vibrato, and funnily enough, that's how I started. Really, it was a vibrato video, and then it became a practice of doing that. Now I'm also familiar with some LMS stuff. So when you mentioned Moodle, I'm interested in your background. You have a tech background, correct?
Yeah. So all of my college education, well, actually I did some music as well in college, but yeah, I'm predominantly tech, but like any guitar loving teenager, I started playing guitar when I was about 11 or 12, and I got into a band, and I was with a band for 7 years, and I was lucky enough actually to tour the States when I was 21, which was great for a young guy from Ireland.
Sure.
We got to play like CBGB's in 2000. We got to play in the Fireside Bowl in Chicago. We did about 18 shows throughout the States. And this was all kind of just in my first 2 years of college. So I kind of got that whole live music thing out of my system young enough to be able to then focus on the college thing, and it was actually electronic engineering that I studied initially, and then I kind of moved into computer science. But throughout the whole thing, I was always just working with audio and music. I've never worked in anything that wasn't audio and music. So for me to be able to combine the the computer science part of the engineering part with the music part, it's just been it's a real blessing for me. I get to do what I love every day.
Yeah.
So the education thing kind of comes from a different angle, in that for about 4 or 5 years I became a university lecturer. So before I went into the startup world, and before I started kind of building this stuff commercially, I was doing an awful lot of academic research. So I did a PhD in audio signal processing. Specifically, the area I was looking at, and this is back in 2004, was sound source separation, to be able to take a mixed track and just get the guitar solo out. So it's I won't say trivial these days, but it's a lot easier with machine learning. But I
Sure.
was doing it back in 2004, and there wasn't many of us able to do it. So kind of after the PhD, then I started teaching music technology in university in a computer science course here in Dublin. And I was also working on another project which was specifically designed to identify what kind of tools would be useful in music education. And the sound source separation thing was a part of that project. So obviously with sound source separation, you can do the music minus one thing, where you take out the instrument that you want to practice and be in the place of, or you can just listen to that instrument so as you can analyze it a bit better. Things like slowing down audio, pitch shifting audio. And again, I'm talking 20 years ago here, not now, when it's relatively trivial. So I was in the university doing all that and teaching at the same time. So my kind of perspective from the point of view of trying to present material in a way that's as easily digestible as possible, but also at the same time hooky and interesting. There's you got to make it something people want to explore, want to know more about. Most learning is going to go on outside the classroom if you do your job right. If you inspire people to love what it is, like you said with the vibrato, if you can show them this technique, even if you don't give them the best demonstration of it, if you get across to them, this is important and it sounds great, and here's all the people who really did it well, and it unlocks a whole bunch of creativity for you, people will be inspired to go and just consume as much information as they can about that topic. And that's kind of where we're coming from here as well. We're not saying that any one course is better than any other course. Everyone learns differently. We're just trying to lay it out there and signpost it clearly as possible to make you want to explore the thing you love. And that's kind of the angle that I've been coming from for most of my adult life.
I love that because well, I'll go a little bit into my background. I was doing I'm a Berkeley guy. Commercial arranging, professional writing was my major. That I think that major doesn't exist. I think now it's like some sort of a desktop producer type of thing. But at any rate, tab books and learning methods and sheet music is what I did up till about 2004. When you mentioned 2004, what we did was the artist would come out with the album, and then I was in charge of getting that album, if it was guitar oriented, transcribed and putting the sheet music together for that, and in between all of the cool projects, in between the Pink Floyds and the AC/DCs, it did how to play flute, how to play violin. You do all these tutorials, and I loved it. But in 1998, Napster came out, and we lived off of royalties. We lived off of album sales and sheet music sales. And I don't know if you recall when Olga came out, the online guitar archive. It was a pirate site, and it started what ultimately became something like Ultimate Guitar. I'm not saying that Ultimate Guitar started out that way, but it was user generated transcriptions or arrangements where they would just put the lyrics and the chord symbols on top of it. And for us, that was a huge part income stream. But policing that was basically, it was the end. So right around 2004 was the end of that, where I moved to what I wanted to get to was the National Guitar Workshop, which what they did was they had these satellite campuses. It was a guitar vacation during the off period, during the summer months, when between the school year, when the school year would start, when school year would end, and June, July, and August, and they would go to a campus, to a school campus, where you would rent a dorm, and you could have lessons with a Pat Metheny, Robin Ford, and other teachers. These were the featured teachers, the big teachers, but there was also a huge crew of professional teachers that today people know about them through YouTube. But back then it was kind of word of mouth. And in 2004, they decided to go to Workshop Live to become online. And I was a guitar curriculum manager for that. It was a couple of years working in tech and trying to get these things. You're talking about pitch shifting back in 2004, 2005, or slowing it down without having the pitch change. This was outer space stuff. This was stuff. Just getting the visual to line up with the tab, like what SoundSlice does.
Yeah.
We did that manually. And we'd also have these diagrams that would show up. We'd have to trigger that, and the amount of people, the amount of behind the scenes work that happened. There was the amount of people, and we had 3 technologies sitting on top of each other trying to make that work. It was really cool. I don't have a tech background, so there was smarter people working on that stuff. But I had the curriculum eye for that. What comes next? But one of the cool things that you had mentioned, you can go from one teacher to another because they appeal to you. What we did was we broke down the lesson and taught it 4 different ways. Cool. Some folks are visual learners, some are auditory learners, some are kinesthetic learners, some are tactile learners. Which learner are you, and why are you interested in certain people? Why would you go to Marty Guitar instead of Justin Guitar?
Mm-hmm.
They each have a different teaching style. They each have great content, and or maybe you might have needed it explained, especially when it comes to music theory, explained a different way. Justin is your guy. You dig Justin, but somehow understating a major triad just doesn't come. It doesn't come easy. And then you go to Marty, and it still doesn't come easy. And then you find some guy who's only got a few hundred followers, but for some reason that sinks in. So it's very important to be able to do that without having to scroll through 100 videos to find that guy. And your team has solved that problem. I thought it was fantastic about that. And I wondered, I'm going to shift gears here. I wondered about audio DSP.
Uh-huh.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, if you want me to kind of talk about it in any specific terms, if there's a specific effect or if there's a specific thing you want me to comment on, I'm happy to do that. But I mean, broadly speaking, audio DSP, I guess if you're not in the game, you're probably seeing things like DSP written on devices, and for a while, and even still, there can be a little bit of hesitation about, is it a digital effect versus is it an analog effect? But in general, audio DSP, it's it's normally trying to emulate in the digital domain something that's already been achieved in the analog domain. So if you've got like your favorite pedal there, it's most likely, depending on the type of pedal it is, if it's a distortion pedal, for example, or an overdrive pedal, it's most likely going to be the set of standard components: transistors, resistors, capacitors, induction coils, and it's might be on a printed circuit board, or it might be hand wired, but it's essentially electrical signals flowing in their
It's an
pure
analog device.
form. Say again?
It's an analog device.
Exactly. It's analog. It's an analog device. So digital devices, they aim to essentially sample the waveforms of an analog signal in such a way that the data can be represented. It's supposed to be captured in such a way as there is perceptually no difference in quality. Now, there will always be some differences in quality depending on how digital to analog converters and analog to digital converters and digital to analog converters at the start and end of a digital device, they will always have, some will be better quality, some will be worse quality. There is mathematically a difference in an analog signal and a digital signal, but it's designed to be as close as possible to the analog signal. But when it's in the digital domain, you can do things to it which would not be easily done in the analog domain. So in the whole kind of area of DSP at the moment, you might consider there to be two broad categories. This is really just a kind of a simplified explanation.
Mm-hmm.
But there is using DSP to model accurately very desirable analog circuits or sounds, particularly kind of, classic pedals or tube amp simulation, things like that. And in the other broad category would be really kind of exotic effects that can only be done in digital, or they're just a lot easier to do in digital and a lot cheaper to achieve. So there's a lot to be said about both those categories. In terms of amp modeling stuff, the benefit of it is convenience. It's the fact that you don't have to have 500 watt heads in the back of your car going into a small bar or into your practice room. If you can get 80%, the 80-20 rule, if you can get 80% of the tone of that particular amp or that particular pedal that you like in a very small compact form, I think that's a good compromise to make. If you're lucky enough to go in and record in Abbey Road and you really want to capture the moment for the one and only time you ever get to record in Abbey Road, by all means, make the effort of bringing all the amps. But these days, between Fractal and Kemper and Amplifier, the FIRE version, and Positive Grid and
Line 6 stuff,
DSP,
headrush stuff,
all this stuff, it's gotten to the stage now where for a lot of the modeling, there's easily 20 years of research behind this now, since Line 6 and the really early models. And there were a few early amp modeling models before that as well. But it's gotten to the stage now where it's a pretty mature art. So in terms of modeling those analog circuits in digital, they're getting close. They're way beyond 80%. They're up in the 90% region. So it's a convenience thing. It's not to say they're better or worse. They're just
it's a tool.
A tool, exactly. It's a tool to help you have variety, a bigger tone palette in a smaller footprint. But then when it comes to, like you mentioned there earlier on, about things like pitch shifting and time stretching, those things would be very difficult to do in analog circuits. The way you would have achieved time stretch and pitch shift in the past would have been with tape loops and things like that.
Stretching the tape,
yeah,
putting your finger on the tape.
exactly, and that's a lovely thing. I mean, I still sometimes do that. I'm
Yeah.
right over here. I'm in the middle of repairing an old Philips DCC player, but in terms of, you know, a practical application, you're not really going to want to use an old WEM copycat to do your guitar practice, or an old Fostex R8 to do your guitar practice. And of course, when you do slow down on a tape, you're going to drop the pitch as well as the speed. But it's an example where digital signal processing has made it viable in a very high quality way, and then does open up these in this case, you know, a tool for music education, but even other things in terms of some of the really exotic effects you see these days. There's a hell of a lot of pedals are all DSP, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, it just allows you to do different things in the digital domain that may not be possible, or may not be as cost effective to sell a pedal for $99 if you were to do it in the analog domain. But that would be kind of my, without going into the weeds of how do we actually convert a signal into digital, and then what specific transforms we use in the digital domain. But yeah, that would be kind of a broad strokes description. And, you know, if you've got any specific burning questions, I'll try and answer them for you.
No, I like the broad stroke approach. Just for listeners and viewers like me, I've adopted the smaller pedals. My I think for especially for older players, younger players find it easier to adapt to the new technology. I was an old I loved tube amps, and my back didn't.
Exactly.
Because you just like you said. And then I'm originally from New York City, and I live now in the Andes Mountains. I'm in Colombia, and as a result of taking tube amps into these different venues where the current was incredibly unstable, or it was dirty, I started hearing the difference in the amps, and then the amps started not liking it. So I had a lot of tube issues. Also had transformers blow. I had one power surge that not only blew the transformer on my Egnator amp, but it also blew the pickups on. I had the original pickups on the 73 Gibson Les Paul, and I had those got. I didn't realize that they were fried until I could notice that the guitar sounded dead. It had a dead sound, and I had somebody take a look at it, and they said the pickups need to be redone. They need to be rewired. Some of a couple of bobbins are burnt, and so we'll rebuild. If you can rebuild them, let's rebuild them, because I wanted to keep the guitar original. And then I just started noticing that a lot of players were adopting just plugging a multi-effects board, you know, like a Fractal, like a Neural Quad Cortex, right into front of house. And I started doing that, but I really did not like the sound of it, and I've been doing that for about 3 or 4 years. No, about 4 years, because it was just pre-COVID that I went from analog to digital. Now I'm finding a hybrid in between, where I can get the benefits of both worlds, because I do like the amp in a box circuit, but from an analog circuitry. Although it does buzz, it does hiss as you start putting more gain on it. And what I've also discovered is that like pedals play nice together, but when you start mixing them, you got to find which ones do play nice together. You know, and what I mean is the same, like pedals are the same brand. If it's under the same brand, and I like the gain stage. If I put 3 overdrives together and gain stage, there'll be less noise than if I start swapping different companies, different brand names. And it's a process. It's a process, but part of what we do as guitar players is enjoy that part of the process. Here I'm going off on a little bit of a rabbit trail because of just my personal interest in audio DSP, but I knew that you were an expert in it, and I wanted to take advantage of that.
Sure.
No, Dan, I want to ask you, what is the future? Is there anything special in the future for GuitarApp? Or just going to let it grow organically?
I mean, I would say it generally, we just kind of want to let it grow organically. But if you want an exclusive, you heard it here, folks. You heard it first here.
I would appreciate that.
Well, we literally just today put out the tuner, metronome, and chord library as Chrome extensions. So they've
Beautiful.
just hit the Chrome web store. So again, you don't need to keep coming over to guitarapp.com to use those tools. If you're on YouTube now, you can have them installed as a Chrome extension and just pull up a tuner right there in your browser with the YouTube video playing behind, or on Udemy or on TrueFire or wherever you're currently learning.
Yeah.
Same with the metronome, same with the chord library. So you don't need to keep switching tabs. So they just literally went live on the web store today.
Awesome. Great. Congrats. Right. So, do you have any other projects that you'd like to talk about?
No, I mean, what I suppose kind of related to your previous question there, there's some other stuff in GuitarApp as well that might be of interest to some of the listeners out there. We did start thinking about kind of just little fun games to try and make learning the theory parts a little bit more sticky, a little easier to stick with. And one of the guys in here, Brian, he's a big Wordle fan, and he came up with this idea that we could do like a chord version. And he decided it should be called Chordle, which is a nice name. It rolls off the tongue.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically you get to hear the chord, and then you have to try and fill in the shape based on each of the notes you're hearing. So you got to put your ear to use to hear out the individual notes in the chord, and you get 5 guesses, just like Wordle. You put them on the fretboard. It's an interactive fretboard, so you can hear them as you enter the notes, and it tracks your streaks as the days go on. So that's kind of like a new direction for us. We hadn't really been going into the ear training stuff or the game stuff, but it just sounded like a fun idea, so we did it. And then we did an interval trainer as well. So we've got this kind of quick fire interval trainer where you got 1 minute to name as many intervals as you can. So you get to hear the interval and you get to choose from 4, a bit like the kind of the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire 4 options.
Nice.
And you see the clock ticking down, and then at the end you get a big score, and you challenge your buddies to see if they can beat you. And there's different difficulty levels going, from the major triad harmonies to the diatonic scales up to chromatic scales, and then chromatic scales with changing root notes, the particularly difficult version.
Ooh.
So we are thinking of doing a bit more there as well. And we do have in the pipeline at the moment, we have a lot of the scales tools we have, which are in the iOS app. They haven't fully been released on the web version yet, but they'll come too. So there's little kind of projects bubbling up here and there, and they'll see the light of day as the weeks go on.
Yeah, so there is some more for the future of the guitar app. Getting a little bit bigger, and with the gamifying of the chordal. That was when I went into the chordal, the chordal part of the site. That was something that I saw the internet technology, because I come from the book with the CD world,
Yeah.
and there was always sort of a disjointed aspect to you have the text and then the media, similar to actually to today. If you're on TrueFire and you download the PDF, you're kind of going a little bit back and forth, but you're getting a little bit more of the teacher and a little bit more of a lesson.
Mhm.
Whereas all we would do is we would give you the music example, all the description would be in the text, and it would be a little bit more disjointed. And at Workshop Live, we had talked about it. How could we create an interactive chord library? Again, now, this is 20 years ago. That was a huge challenge. Today you can make it where it's well, like you guys did, fill in the chord. What a great tool, because as a teacher you kind of turn your back so that the student wouldn't see your hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's more of a one-on-one type of thing, where this really, like I said from the beginning, one of the things that attracted me to GuitarApp was that I wish it had existed back when I was teaching a lot, let alone learning a lot. When I was learning when I was a teenager, it was the guitar magazines. Really, you waited once a month, and whatever the column was in the back might not be the player that you're interested in, might not be the style that you're interested in, might be the level that you're capable of, but it was what you had.
Same here. Yeah.
So really, it was we were taking vinyl and carving a new groove, and you could look at the vinyl and see where the solo was, because you had beaten up the vinyl so much with needle drops, and then you carve a new groove into it, and then you get 30 years later, I figured it out wrong.
Yeah.
Because now you can hear it clearly, and there's a video on it. There's somebody walking you through and go, oh Jesus, I figured that out. I made it a lot more complicated than I thought it was.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it was part of our process. So it's nice to see some of these things. Although like what some of my guitar playing friends say today, with all the technology and all the information that's available, there's no excuse to play poorly and to sound badly. You can solve those two things with a little bit of research, and especially using your tool. It's gotten me off of YouTube, and when I want guitar entertainment, I know where to go.
That means a lot, Ed. Really appreciate that.
But no, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. Also, thank you for what you've done with GuitarApp, and I hope our newsletter subscribers, the Guitar Space newsletter subscribers, which is a great group of people, and our whole Guitar Space community will appreciate this, and we'll go to your site and enjoy it. It's become one of the, how we have that precious real estate in Chrome. You have all these tabs that are open at the same time, and it's one of the ones that's open. It's right next to the YouTube one. I have the GuitarApp one, and they remain open all the time.
Thanks, Ed. I really appreciate that.
So thank you, Dan. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me. I look forward to talking to you again. And I wish you all the best with GuitarApp.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Ed. Have a good day.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Ed, and I thought I'd give you a quick tour of the GuitarApp site. All right, these links over here, you have the similar stuff over here. This is the tools that Dan was talking about. You've got a tuner, and you can embed this. So here, there's the code, a metronome, and the Chord app that he had referred to. And this is what I liked. You have the variations on the Chord on the bottom. You know, there's also these games and stuff that you can go into. I'm not going to go into them now. I'm just giving you a quick overview. But here, this is the GuitarApp, which here we'll go into latest videos. And these are the channels. These are the different channels. So you've got beginner lessons. You got gear. A lot of gear from NAMM, because the NAMM just ended. Song tutorials, Guitar TV if you're looking for latest Rick Beato. You know, music appreciation, interviews, love interviews. I usually put a lot of these interviews on in the background when I'm doing admin stuff. But this is what we've been talking about. This is GuitarApp.com. Guys, I'm a huge fan. Go to GuitarApp.com. I'm sure you'll find something useful in there, because it's easier to navigate than to go through the big YouTube vortex, especially if you have varying interests. If I want just guitar stuff, this is where I go to. You know, with YouTube, I'll go into other things. You know, I'm also like a cooking guy, so I'll watch a lot of cooking videos. But here, GuitarApp.com, check it out.